On a large ship called the Virginian, a baby boy was found. This happened in the year 1900. A worker on the ship found the baby. The baby was lying in a box in the large room where first-class passengers danced. The box was meant for lemons. The worker was a simple man. His name was Danny. Danny was a man who took care of the ship's machines. Danny decided to keep the baby. He named the baby after the year he was found. He called him 1900, or 1900 for short. Danny became the baby's father. 1900 grew up on the ship. The ship was his only home. It sailed across the Atlantic Ocean. It went from Europe to America and back again, many times. The ship was full of people. Rich people traveled in first class. Poor people traveled in third class. They all wanted to go to America, the new land of hope. Danny worked hard. He hid 1900 from the ship's officers. He did not want them to take the boy away. He told 1900 that the ship was the best place in the world. He said that land was a bad place. On land, there were too many people and too many problems. Danny said people on land wasted their lives looking for things they did not need. The ocean, he said, is the only thing that is real. 1900 believed him. When 1900 was 8 years old, a sad thing happened. Danny was working on the ship. A heavy piece of metal fell. It hit Danny on the head. Danny was very hurt. A few days later, he died. 1900 was alone again. On the day of Danny's burial, some men from the ship put his body in a cloth. They carried it to the side of the ship. They prepared to put Danny into the sea. 1900 watched. He did not understand. He asked a ship's officer where Danny was going. The officer pointed to the land far away. He said Danny was going to a special place there. But 1900 looked at the big city in the distance. He saw many buildings and smoke. He did not want to go there. That night, 1900 disappeared. The ship's crew looked for him everywhere. They could not find him. They thought maybe he had fallen into the sea. Weeks passed. Then, one night, the people in the first-class ballroom heard beautiful music. It was piano music. It was strange and wonderful. The ship's captain and some passengers went to find the music. They saw a small boy. It was 1900. He was sitting at the grand piano. His small hands moved over the keys. He was playing music. No one had taught him. No one knew he could play. He just knew how. The captain was surprised. But he knew the boy had no family. So, he let him stay on the ship. He said 1900 could live there and work when he was older. And so, 1900 stayed. As he grew older, he began to work on the ship. He worked in the kitchen and helped with other jobs. But at night, he always went to the ballroom. He played the piano. Soon, everyone on the ship knew about him. They called him 1900, the pianist of the ocean. The rich passengers loved his music. They invited him to play at their parties. 1900's music was like nothing they had ever heard. It was not just songs he learned from paper. He watched the people. He listened to their talk. He felt the movement of the ship. Then, He made music about it. He could play a sad old song from a poor farmer. He could play a fast, happy dance for a young woman in love. He could make sounds like the stormy sea outside. When he played, people forgot they were on a ship. They felt many different emotions. One of his friends was a musician in the ship's small band. This man played the trumpet. His name was Max. Max came to work on the Virginian. On his first night, the sea was very rough. The ship moved up and down. Max felt very sick. He could not walk straight. 1900 saw him. He asked Max to come to the ballroom. He asked Max to loosen the brakes on the grand piano. Then, 1900 sat down and began to play a waltz. As he played, the ship moved with the big waves. The piano, on its wheels, began to slide across the smooth floor. It moved in long, graceful curves. It spun around the room. Max held onto the piano, afraid. But 1900 was laughing. He played beautiful music while the piano danced over the floor. From that moment, Max and 1900 became good friends. Max was amazed by 1900's talent. He could not believe that 1900 had never left the ship. Years went by. 1900 became famous. People who traveled on the ship told stories about the amazing pianist, who lived on the ocean. Record company men heard these stories. They came to the ship. They wanted to record 1900's music and sell it on land. They set up a recording machine next to the piano. They asked 1900 to play. 1900 did not like the idea much. He did not understand why his music needed to be in a machine. But he agreed. He started to play a simple, gentle piece. While he was playing, he looked out of a window. He saw a young woman standing there. She was looking out at the sea. She had a sad and beautiful face. Her hair was light. The morning sun made it look like gold. 1900 watched her. His fingers changed the music. He played the most beautiful, loving tune he had ever made. It was a piece for that one moment, for that one person. The men from the record company were very happy. They had his music on their machine. But when they gave 1900 the record, he did not want to give it to them. He took it. He said the music was not for everyone. It was private. Later, he went to where the woman slept. He looked at her for a while as she slept. He gently kissed her forehead. Then he left. He never spoke to her. The ship arrived in New York. The woman left with the crowd. 1900 still had the record. He broke it into pieces. He kept one piece. Sometimes, he would look at it and think of her. Another important event happened. A famous jazz pianist came onto the ship. His name was Jelly Roll Morton. He had heard that 1900 was the best piano player in the world. Jelly Roll Morton did not believe this. He came to challenge 1900. He wanted to prove he was the best. A large crowd gathered in the ballroom. Jelly Roll Morton played first. He played very well. His fingers flew across the keys. The music was fast and complex. Everyone clapped loudly. Then it was 1900's turn. He sat at the piano. He played a simple, sweet song. It was nice, but not as exciting as Jelly Roll's music. The crowd was not very impressed. Jelly Roll Morton laughed. He thought he had won. He played another song. This one was even more difficult and beautiful. 1900 listened. He looked unhappy. He did not like contests. Then, 1900 asked for his turn again. He put a cigarette on the edge of the piano. He said to Jelly Roll Morton, "You asked for this." Then he began to play. His hands became a blur. He played a piece that was so fast, it seemed like 3 men were playing. The music was like a storm, a train, a wild river. It filled the room with incredible sound. Everyone's mouth was open in shock. They had never heard such music. When he finished, the cigarette on the piano was hot. 1900 touched its end to a piano string. The string was so hot from his playing that it lit the cigarette. He gave the cigarette to Jelly Roll Morton. The famous pianist walked away, defeated. 1900 did not feel happy about his victory. He just went back to playing his own music. Max left the ship after some years. He tried to make a life on land. He played his trumpet in different places. But life was hard. After many years, he was poor. He had to sell his trumpet. Before selling it, he went to the music shop. The shop owner was an old man. He looked at Max's trumpet. He decided to buy it. To test it, he put a record on an old machine. He wanted to see if the sound of the trumpet would match the record. As the record played, Max heard the music. It was the tune 1900 played for the young woman years ago. It was the piece he recorded and then broke. But one piece of the record had fallen into the piano. Later, when the ship was being repaired, someone found it. They fixed it and made new copies. Now, this music was famous on land. No one knew who played it. Max told the shop owner the whole story. He told him about 1900. The owner was amazed. He gave Max the address of the Virginian. He said the old ship was in a port. It was very old and was going to be destroyed. Max went to the port. He found the Virginian. It was old and broken. It looked sad. Men were preparing to blow it up with explosives. Max was sure 1900 was still on the ship. He had to save his friend. He went to the ship's owners. He told them the story. They did not believe him. They said no one was on the ship. They had checked. But Max insisted. Finally, they gave him permission to go onto the ship one last time to look. He took the old record and a record player. He went into the dark, empty ship. It was full of dust and memories. He went to the ballroom. The piano was still there, but it was broken. Max played the record of 1900's music. He hoped the music would bring his friend out. He waited. For a long time, nothing happened. Then, from the shadows, a man appeared. It was 1900. He was older, but Max knew it was him. He was dressed in an old coat. He looked thin, but his eyes were calm. Max was very happy to see him. He told 1900 that he had come to take him off the ship. He said 1900 could come and live on land. He could play his music for the whole world. He could be rich and famous. He could find the woman he saw years ago. 1900 listened. He smiled. He thanked his friend. But he said no. He explained why he could never leave the ship. For 1900, the ship was his entire world. It had a beginning and an end. It was simple. On the ship, there were 2,000 people at most. The ship's journey went from one end to the other. He could make music for that. But the land was too big. It was a world without end. There were too many streets, too many choices, too many people. It was a too much world. He said the piano had 88 keys. He knew what music he could make with those 88 keys. It was a world he could control. But the land was a piano with millions, billions of keys. It was a piano you could not play. It was a piano that made you lost. He was born on this ship. The ocean gave him his music. And on this ship, he would die. Max cried. He tried to convince him, but 1900's mind was decided. He said he was not afraid of death. He was only afraid of what he would not see and hear. If he went to a place that was not his, he asked Max to leave. He said it was his time. Max, with a very heavy heart, left the ship. He walked to a safe distance. He watched the old Virginian. The explosives were ready. A man gave the signal. On the ship, 1900 sat in the broken ballroom. In his mind, he was playing the piano. His fingers moved in the air over imaginary keys. He was smiling. He was playing his music for the last time. He was thinking of the ocean, the sky, and the endless horizon that was never too much for him. Then, there was a loud sound. Fire and smoke rose from the ship. The Virginian broke into pieces. It sank into the deep sea. The man who was known only as 1900 was gone. He never touched the land. He lived and died on the ocean. His music, for a short time, lived on a record. But his true music, the music of his soul, was always part of the sea and the sky. It was a story without an end, just like the ocean he loved.